what's up guys, autofanatic. So I'm going to show you guys a simple video on how to solve suspension clunks. This most predominantly in the front of the 2015 to 2019 Mustangs. It happens from wear and tear, driving on bad roads like I have in New York, and a lot of people think it's the shocks that are blowing out. Sometimes the upper shock mount does blow out, but that's a very rare instance. The most common failure, and I actually just took off the passenger side anti-sway bar Endlink, are these OEM Endlinks. And you can see here, when you drive the car hard, this aluminum fatigues and it actually bends. So the way these Endlinks work, they keep the stabilizer attached to the strut assembly. So as the car is going up and down the road, and the left wheel and the right wheel on the same axle are independently moving, this is keeping the car planted through the sway bar to keep that tire on the road. So what happens is, these are little ball joints in here, and the OEM ones, it's like a ball in a socket that's pressed in there. It's got a little bit of a dust boot, and there's some grease. So what happens is, when you drive the car hard, you gotta understand something. This car is not that light. We have a massive tire in the front, massive tire in the rear, a lot of horsepower, and a lot of guys are driving them hard. So what happens is, when you start loading up the sway bar, where you're putting all the balance of the suspension and the body on one side of the car while it's leaning, you're gonna, over time, you're going to fatigue the anti-sway bar Endlinks. You can see the arc right there, and here's a brand new one side by side, just so you can see that on camera. And this is pretty common. Like I said, my 2015 GT Performance Pack, I replaced the Endlinks 3 times. So that's just what happens. So what happens is, the more you load it up, you get some deflection here, then you're going to actually put stress on the little joint. And when you put stress on the little joint, it's going to start to wear. And as the suspension is compressing or rebounding back into the neutral state, that little wear and tear is going to give you a clunk in the suspension. So it's very, very common. I'm going to show you here today. We're going to be doing the front, and we're going to be doing the rear. Now, the fronts are relatively easy. They have a captive 17mm hex on the stud, and then you use an 18mm to get these on and off. These are relatively easily. Now, on the rears, they didn't manufacture them like that. They're going to make it a little bit harder. We're going to have to use the 6mm hex in the center bore of the thread and hold it and go slowly. But the torque on the rears are not as high as the torque in the front. These are about 35 foot-pounds, and these nuts are about 85 foot-pounds. Now, just for reference purposes, I'm going to show you guys some aftermarket sway bar Endlinks that I manufactured, just to give you an idea of some of the differences here. Now, this sway bar Endlink, it's all machined aluminum, high quality spherical rod ends, all stainless steel, and this is never going to bend like this. It's just not going to happen. The situation is, when you're using spherical rod ends on a street driven car, you have to use these misalignment, they call them misalignment shims, and you have to source out your own hardware. Now with the hardware, if you could listen here, there's always going to be that little bit of a tolerance, okay? And the bolts tend to come loose, the rod ends tend to wear, and these become very, very noisy. So anybody that's got an aftermarket suspension, you guys know what I'm talking about. As soon as you put rod ends, yeah, you eliminate deflection, but you also increase a lot of NVH chatter and noise. And that's just not where I'm going with my car. I just don't want to do that. But if you guys are tracking the car, I mean, this is probably the way to go. I actually made these for my 2015 GT Performance Pack, and I took them off before I sold the car. So I just have them here for reference, and you guys could see there, they're around the same size. Now, with an adjustable Endlink, the advantage is you could extend and shorten the length to preload the sway bar. That's if you want to just play around with understeer and oversteer characteristics of your car. That is an advantage, whereas the OEM is a standard length. So I'm going to get the camera over. I'm going to show you guys a little bit more detail on this right now. So before you do any of this, this is what you got to do. You got to get the car, if you're going to work on the front axle, you got to get the front nose completely off the ground. So what I use the BMR jacking rails. I'm just going to get a little close up. So I jack up from right over here, and then I have these really cool Torin 3K jack stands, and they have a rubber thick isolated notch that fits perfectly on the OEM pinch weld. So it's safe, the car's not going to go anywhere. Make sure you have it in gear and have the parking brake on as well. So that's the first thing you want to do, because if you try to jack up just one wheel at a time, what's going to happen is you're going to load the sway bar. You're never going to be able to get these bolts off. So let's just look right here. So this is where the sway bar bolt Endlink attaches to on the front strut on the driver's side. The nut and bolt is in the back, and then going down here, This is where it is on the back of the sway bar. Now, on the back of the sway bar, it's a little bit tougher to get to with an impact gun, but you can see it relatively easily right there. So I'm going to show you guys real quick on how to get these things on and off. We're going to torque them to spec, and then we're going to flip the car around. We're going to do the rears and the upper strut mount assembly. These things do blow out, especially if you live in a high-taxed, poor road area like New York, Chicago, and other parts of the country. There's a bearing and a cup, and over time, from bouncing up and down, you start to blow that out. So what usually causes the upper strut mount to blow out is excessive lowering of your car with the wrong springs, and you're constantly bottoming out the shock. When the shock tends to blow out, you're going to start getting a rebound effect where it's going to start bouncing. Over time, it's going to send significant shock from the shock piston into this upper strut mount, and you're going to start to crack and separate the bearing from the isolator, and that's just what happens. But in this particular case, I've been hearing a clunk on my car for a while. I inspected it, I saw the bent sway bar end links, and right away I knew exactly what I have to do. And the parts alone for the front, the rear, the bolts, the shipping was about $123. And in the video, I'm going to post in the description all the part numbers from Ford. You guys could order them yourself. I'll post the tool selection as I shoot this video in editing, and you guys can knock this thing out in a simple weekend morning. So let's get started. So we're going to start with the top sway bar end link on the driver's side. Passenger side's already done. So the way this is going to work is you're going to have to feel it. You take the 17mm open end wrench, and you're going to put it back here, right, just like that. So now you know that you're on that captive nut that's on the stud. And we're going to take an 18mm long socket on my cordless impact driver, and that's pretty much it. So being that we're changing these, we're also changing the hardware. It is recommended. Ford says that these are a one-time use, especially these are torqued to spec at 85 foot-pounds. So you can see here how easy the shaft comes in and out. That's because we took the preload off the suspension by having the car up on both sides. If you don't do that, you're never going to get this out. You're going to struggle. You're going to most likely strip this and break something. So let's go down to the bottom right now. All right, so this is the one on the bottom end. It's definitely a lot harder to get to. So I'm not going to be able to get my impact gun in there, but I'm going to try to break it loose. Okay, so there we go. So we break it loose, then we're going to hold it with the 17mm, and we're going to just pretty much sit here for about 5 minutes, and you could do this. So I'm resting the ratchet against the strut body, and I'm ratcheting the entire assembly with the 17mm. Just makes it a little bit easier. Okay, we're out. Now you could do it by hand and just get your end link out and out of the car. Okay, so we got the new end link in position. Gonna just loosely put the nut on the top end just to keep that from going anywhere. And we're gonna get the bottom end in that we just took off. So I'm gonna start with the bottom just because I already got the camera set up here, and it's pretty much the same procedure that I just showed you. So I'm gonna actually use my gear wrench. Get that over there. So it's a pretty painless maintenance interval. I mean, it's been over 2.5 years, so we're gonna cinch that down nice and tight. We're gonna come back and we're gonna torque that. So we got the bottom one in position. We're just gonna get that 17mm on the back end, like I showed you. We're gonna hold it. That's that. I already got my torque wrench preset to 85 foot-pounds right there. So we're torqued to spec on that end. We're going to do the bottom end, and we're going to flip the car around, and I'm going to show you the rears. Back, we're in the rear of the car. Also, when you get the car up on jack stands, make sure you chock one of the front wheels just for safety. So on the rear, there's a little bracket here for the brake line, a little 10mm. We're going to get that off just to give us a little bit more room. And I also put a piece of cardboard in between here and the spring, just so I don't dash my hands up too bad when I'm trying to get this out, because it's a little bit of a tighter fit than the fronts. So we're just going to get this little 10mm screw out, and it's going to just give you more room to kind of swing your wrench. Before I get started, I'm going to see if I can zap off the bolt without holding the center. Let's just see how far I can get. I was just going to loosen it up. Okay, so that's what happens. You loosen it, and then it starts to spin. So we're going to use the open-end gear wrench, 18mm. We're going to get that on, and this is why I suggested to remove the bracket. This little lip right here is going to interfere with your wrench, as I'm showing you right there. So we're going to leave that there. And then we have a 6mm hex on my 1/2-inch drive ratchet. Get this in position. And we're going to slowly just get these off. It's done. Now you could do this with your fingers. Put that to the side. And also pay attention to the way this bracket for the brake line is on the sway bar. We're going to leave that there. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to zap it with the impact driver just to break it loose. The 18mm gear wrench. And the good thing about these is that they're not terribly tight, and chances of you bending the rears I think are really limited, but you will wear out the swivel joint if you drive the car really hard and load it up really hard. Or if you have aftermarket sway bars, you're tracking the car, doing anything pretty crazy. It's just normal wear and tear. So if you hear any kind of clunking, this is most likely the first area that you guys need to address. And there's your OEM rear sway bar end link. So we're going to get the new one, and we're going to R&R in reversed order. Okay, so we're good. So that's pretty much it, guys. Very painless, very simple. I did the front and rear in about 35 minutes by myself, and that's including jacking the car up. So let me just get this. Let me just wrap this up, get the wheel on, and I'll show you guys the old parts on the bench. Quick. These are the Touring jack stands that I was talking about, and they have this really nice optional rubber insert that fits right in between the pinch weld. I recommend this. I'll put a link in the description in this video, along with all the part numbers for all the Ford part numbers, and also the tool selection to get this job done quick and easily. So let's go over to the bench and just do a recap. So these are the front sway bar end links. Right here you can see that they're arced because they're bent, they're overloaded, and they're just worn. Now on the rears, you're not going to find these things to be bent, but I do feel, as I play with the joint, a little bit of play on both sides. So as far as hand tools go, it's pretty basic. You're going to need an 18mm. I recommend the gear wrench, 17mm open end wrench, 10mm 1/4-inch drive socket. This is to relieve the bolt at the rear brake line bracket on the sway bar end link. Torque wrench, breaker bar, impact gun, all that good stuff. And of course for the rears, you're going to need a good quality 6mm hex. I use a 1/2-inch drive hardened steel piece right here, and it just seems to work. Torque it to spec. Get a piece of cardboard in between the spring in the rear sway bar mount so you don't bang up your hands, and you're pretty much done. So I hope you guys like this video. Quick and simple. This should solve a lot of your problems if you got any clunking noises, if you lower your car excessively, if you're tracking it and driving it really hard, or if you're just driving it, you got a lot of miles and you're driving it in an area where the roads are all busted up and putting a lot of load on the suspension. First order of business, swap out your sway bar end links, all new hardware, and then if you still have noise, then you have to start looking into your shock absorbers and your upper shock mounts in the rear and your front strut mounts in the front. So see you guys soon. autofanatic@yahoo.com. Please like, subscribe, and share. Set your notifications for more automotive content, and especially GT350 related. And I'll see you guys on the next video. Take care, guys.